Hi everyone, I'm Shruthi Kamath from India. I'm so excited to be here today and I'll be talking about finding your calling in cybersecurity. Well, quickly about me, I'm a senior customer success manager at Apsico. So at Apsico is an application and a cloud security specialist company. So we help our customers solve their security pain points and I work with our customers to understand and help them with their requirements. I've also co-founded an initiative called the InfoSec Girls and my recent project being the Stories of InfoSec Journeys podcast, which is also an in-kind sponsor for the conference. Well, on today's agenda, I'll be covering an overview of what my journey has been, and we'll be sharing some of the key learnings that I had along with this journey, right? And summarize on how you can find your calling too. All right, so I had a pretty interesting journey, and I'm glad that in this process, I was able to find something that I love doing. So during the corporate training at my first job, I was very fortunate to receive a basic InfoSec training, and that is how I was introduced to security. I started out as a developer and eventually wanting to move into a security role. So this is when I was introduced to the Null community. So Null community is an open security community with various chapters across India and outside India. So after attending one of their monthly Null meets, right, I was convinced that this is going to be a great place for me to learn and network. So that is how my AppSec learning got started. And also, I made some amazing friends from the community and where I met Apurva. So then we received an opportunity to organize a workshop for women at the Cookon conference, which happens in Kerala every year. So this was in the year 2014, and it was a beginners workshop, and the workshop was very well received. So when we told this to our mentor, he told us that what we did was something different, and it was a pioneer event. So under his guidance, Apurva and I started InfoSec Girls, a community for women interested in cybersecurity. And as part of this initiative, we presented talks on introduction to cybersecurity careers and beginner level security workshops at various events and organizations. It was also around the same time when I found my first InfoSec job as a security consultant, and I was beyond thrilled. Of course, this was because of the help from the community friends who played a role in referring me to this job. So I did learn a lot about security testing and enjoyed while working on the projects. And then I got this one opportunity where I had a chance to be on a client-facing role, right? So on this job, I came to realization how much I loved managing projects, building processes, being a client-facing person on the project, and it actually helped me understand the amount of planning and work that actually goes into the project before the tech work begins. So because I enjoyed this role so much, I decided to take up this role full time, and I switched from a full time tester to being a client facing person. So so I would say the favorite part of my job was solving challenges that we faced while we were working on these projects and finding effective ways for smooth execution of the project and also providing customers a delightful service. So then I moved jobs, which landed me in my current role, and it was also a job where I wanted to learn more on the business side of cybersecurity, right? So while doing that, I loved learning about how businesses worked and how the sales process works, understanding people psychology, and how is that you can provide value to your customers, and a lot more about being on the first point of contact for a client, and also acting as a bridge between your customers and the security team. So this is how I found a role that I enjoy working on. And then in 2020, an idea stuck to me at the conference that I want to start a project that covers stories of people in the community. And soon the world was hit with the pandemic, and we were working from home. So I had enough time available to start this as a weekend project. So the vision I had for this podcast project was Stories always have an impact on people. So, getting people to share about their stories will make them realize how far they have come along in their journey, and it will also inspire folks who are starting out or who are stuck in their journey, which to me is a win win situation, right? Because everybody is learning from their journey and also feeling good about sharing their journey. So, that's how I started podcasting, and that has been my journey so far. So while I was on this journey, I had some key learnings, and while I was in the industry, also I did learn about a few things, and I wanted to talk about them. So I started in 2013, almost 10 years ago. And while some things have changed over time, I think some things are still relevant. So if you're someone who's just starting out or is already in a corporate career but looking to switch to cybersecurity, then I think this will be useful and hopefully relatable as well. Please share in the comments section if you're able to relate to anything that I'm sharing here on my key learnings. So the first thing I want to talk about is having an open to learning attitude, right? I think this is the most crucial part of being in cybersecurity. The beauty of this industry is that it's ever evolving and constantly changing. There's always something new you can learn here and keep improving yourself. So I think that's how you can also improve on your skills. So when I started out, also because I was in a dev role and I wanted to move into a security role, right? I had to keep learning new skills and improve myself. So, something I heard very often when I was starting out is that get your basics right. Right, so learn the basic concepts of security. There are a lot of resources that are available online in form of blogs, videos, challenges to solve than they were 10 years ago. I'm not saying that it wasn't there then, but I think right now it's just there, available in abundance, and there's a lot of resources out there which is very useful, right? So make the best use of it and keep improvising and learning more skills. So the more open you are to learning and practicing, the better you are going to get at acquiring those required skills. Well, so the next key learning that I want to talk about is, learning about your interests and, how you can work towards them. Right. So I think this step really helped me in finding my interest in the industry. I know this step can be a little tricky because, cybersecurity being a vast domain, it can get a little confusing and very tempting to try everything at once. And I say this because I experienced the same thing when I was starting out. I was like really confused on which one to get started with. Am I, taking the right decision? What if I miss out on something else? So while all this is happening, right, what you can do is try finding clarity on what is that actually interests you in this domain, and what is the kind of role you see yourself in the next 2 to maybe 5 years, right? And once you do that, you can focus on what kind of skills you have, which you already have, and what is that you need to learn on. And also, don't fret over if you don't have the required skills, because you can also learn these skills that is needed, and which takes us back to the first key learning. So there's another important thing that I also wanted to share with y'all is that when y'all are applying for jobs and looking at descriptions and skill sets, I know most of us tend to be perfectionists on applying for jobs only if it aligns 100% with our profile. Don't do that. Feel free to go ahead and apply for roles even if it matches only up to 40% or 60%, I would say, right? And the reason being, it's fine. You can still go ahead and apply for it. There's a good chance you will still end up getting that job, right? So I have done this too in the past where I wanted to only apply for roles if my profile aligns with it 100%. So don't get too stuck on that. So even if your role matches up to 60%, you're fine. Good to go with it. All right, so the next key learning that I want to talk about, and I think it's one of my favorites, is active community participation and contribution. So this learning, I think, has actually played a massive role in my growth, and it has helped me a lot in the initial years, and also it has helped me with networking during the initial years of uh, my career. So I actually made a lot of friends from the community from whom I've learned and who have also helped me with my projects. I attended a lot of sessions when I was starting out and gave sessions and workshops, and then also eventually led to co-founding a community and now running my podcast project. I think communities are a great place to learn and network, and networking is very useful, especially when you're starting out. You meet different kinds of people, which lets you learn so much from each of them professionally and personally. And it could also be possible that the same people can help you find jobs in security, right? So uh, going to communities and learning there and networking with people can really help. What I would suggest is that identify a local security community chapter in your area or an online community that enables learning for you. So my mentor always told me this, that the fastest way to learn is to teach someone. And I think one of the ways you can contribute is by presenting a talk or a workshop. You can volunteer to talk on a topic that you are interested to learn, and you can teach the same thing. So in that process of learning and teaching someone, you also end up learning a lot about it, right? So that's a great way to learn, is by teaching someone. Or what you can do is you can contribute in any way which provides you an opportunity to network with folks and learn new things. And I think there's also a added benefit of personal branding, which happens organically when you're associated with communities. All right. So the next key learning that I want to talk about is choosing the right mentor. So I think I would say that I was very fortunate when it comes to having mentors who helped me see my potential when I was starting out, and they also made me understand what is that's currently available and trending in the industry. So thus I was able to walk in that direction accordingly, and then go find what my interest is, right? So I was able to go ahead and do that experimentation. So my recommendation to you folks would be that find a mentor in the industry who's able to guide you. And I believe this is a two-way street, in the sense that the mentor is willing to help you, and you reciprocate to that guidance, and work with your mentor on identifying your short-term and long-term goals, and set a specific target and on how and when you would like to achieve them, right? So update them when you achieve your goals, or if you're stuck with something, you can definitely reach out to them, and try to keep the mentor-mentee relation professional by respecting each other's time and space. So the next key learning that I want to talk about, and it's something that I heard pretty often initially when I was starting out, is that if you're not technical enough, you cannot be part of the cybersecurity industry. I think this is absolutely not true, and cybersecurity is a vast domain, and there are many important non-technical roles, like you can be a product manager, a policy writer, a project manager, a technical content creator, and a technical writer, or a sales engineer, or a customer success manager, right? So it eventually goes back to making a choice that if you want to be in a technical role or a non-technical role. So based on that, you make a choice and focus your learning in that direction, right? All right. So to quickly summarize what I spoke about earlier on the key learnings, is that how you can find your learning, how you can find your calling is finding clarity on what you want to do, and identify your strengths and skills to find a role that you could enjoy. It could be a tech or a non-tech role. It's completely your choice. Participate in community meetups, and contribute in any way you think is fit for the community and for you, right? And I cannot stress enough on the importance of networking with folks from the industry. Go to meetups, conferences where you can find people from the industry to learn from. So here's a picture view of the highlights of my journey, and I've also written a blog on how I managed to find a role that I enjoy. You can check it out and share it with your circle of friends as well if this is something that you want to learn. All right. So you can reach out to me on Twitter and LinkedIn in case you want to connect with me outside of the conference. And if you're interested in tuning into the podcast, it's also available on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts by the name Stories of InfoSec Journeys. And you can follow the podcast social media on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. So that's all I had. Thank you so much for taking time to attend this talk. Anybody has any questions? So I'm just reading some comments that are here. I hope the key learnings were useful. I see for few of y'all were able to relate to it. So, all right, I think some I see some questions about how you can approach or find mentors. So, I think what worked for me was that because I was going to these InfoSec communities, right? I did reach out to folks there and asked if talk to them about what is that I wanted to do, and some folks were happy to volunteer and be my mentor. And I think I also had an added advantage where when I was starting out itself, I had a mentor who introduced me to the community. So that's how it worked for me. But I think what would be really useful is that when you are part of any community, right, you can go reach out to folks and ask them if they are willing to mentor you. And I'm sure, from what I understand, Vices has a great mentor mentee program, so you can definitely register on that or go reach out to folks where you're associated with the communities, asking if they could mentor you. So I see someone's asking a question. We can apply for job which matches 60% of our profile. What I mean when I say that is, ideally when you apply for any jobs, let's say on LinkedIn, right? They have a specific description that this is what your qualifications have to be. And let's say there are 10 things that they're expecting, right? So it's not necessary that it matches with all the 10 things that they've listed there. Instead, you can, if there are at least 5 things out of those 10 things, you can still go ahead and apply that for that job and then wait for a response from them, right? It need not be like 100%. So what I'm trying to say there is, like, don't try being a perfectionist with applying for a profile. If there is some part of it that matches, that works too. And if you get the job right, you can definitely learn on the job and improve on the skills, the remaining skills that is expected on that role. So I see there's a question on what are some of the roles and titles within cybersecurity that focuses on education and awareness. I think that would be something focused on, if it's a training based organization where you have these awareness trainings. And I know there are some training organizations which primarily focus on providing trainings with regards to security, right? So maybe you can find roles on that. I do have a contact who's been in a similar role. Claire, I think we can connect offline on this, and I can help you a little more on that, if that's okay. I think there's a very interesting question on what's the difference between a good mentor versus a great one. Yeah, that's a very interesting one. I think a good mentor would um, probably tell you step by step, and this is personally my opinion, right? So there's no fixed way of this is how you can identify who's a good mentor. And I think there's also some amount of thinking that you need to put in when you're trying to find a mentor. So probably if a mentor is just telling you do this step by step and like you have to stick to it, then I'm not sure if that's too useful. But a great mentor would be somebody, to me at least, is someone who will tell you what are the possible ways and maybe give you pointers on how to go about it, and then also work with you, right, on making sure that you're able to follow and get the necessary steps done to ensure on your learning journey. So for me, that would be a great mentor where someone gives me that options of what are the available things, tells me this and this is what is available. Um, Find something that interests you. These are the good possibilities of what can happen if you pick a specific learning, right? Like for instance, let's say if I want to, if I'm a little confused between whether I want to choose application security or mobile security or cloud, so a mentor who can tell me what is the difference if I go ahead with these three, and what would be the learning exposure, and from a job point of view also which one is going to be more useful. So instead of spoon feeding, if someone could just give me a pointer, I guess that would stand for me as a great mentor. So I guess that is how I would differentiate. I'm not sure if that answers your question, Ramola. Yeah, I will be sharing the presentation after this for sure. So don't worry of that. I think there's another good question that I see that Pratibha is asking, that I am new into management and I'm struggling between what needs to be done for myself and what needs to be delegated, and how do you do it in an assertive way. Um, so I think so. I have been doing the management role for a little time, I would say, and yeah, of course, even I did struggle initially because I wasn't really sure how to delegate the task. And when I say delegate, right, like give them the right instructions so that they would understand what needs to be done. So I think how you can pick on delegating would be first make a list of all the tasks that is needed, and then you can sort of categorize them based on priorities. And if there is something that somebody else in the team can also do, you can definitely, and you should definitely delegate it. And of course, when you're saying it in an assertive way, right, you don't have to sound rude. You can still be polite and tell them that, hey, this is something that we need to work on and get done. And since you have the skills to get this done, you can probably do a better job at this, and maybe you can delegate the task to them in that way, right? And if there's something that you feel like is not something that the team may be able to work on, and if it's a priority, then it would be much better if you pick that task up, or if you have the bandwidth or the timeline, or if there's not like a tight deadline, then you can definitely teach the team member while you're working on it, so that way next time you can probably delegate that task to them as well. I hope this answers, Pratibha.